welcome back to Box with Skye Williamson. I'm your host, and joined to me today is
Ananyanarayan.
And today we're going to be talking about the 2024 season, the controversies, the penalties, the roundups, the driver switches. So why don't you introduce yourself in Formula One terms?
So I am a massive Team LH fan and a Tifosi. So this is the next season. I plan to be absolutely insufferable next year, and I can't wait for it.
Yes, obviously, if you have been here a lot, you know that I too am a Lewis Hamilton fan. So I'm just equally as happy. So this week we're gonna first off start with Lewis Hamilton in Ferrari. How have you felt this week as a Ferrari fan?
I am still in awe and I'm in stunned silence because first of all, drivers have shifted teams before, okay, but this feels different. Like we both know, no matter how amazing of a sport and a league F1 is, Ferrari as a name, as a brand, as a car company will always be bigger than F1 itself. And so is the brand of Lewis Hamilton, the athlete. He will always be bigger than Formula One as a sport. Like, we know this. So, it comes back to what, Enzo Ferrari used to say, ask a child to draw a car, he'll make it red.
Yeah.
It is like that. Like, Ferrari and Hamilton are the biggest names in F1 history. It's been around for 75 years. These two are the biggest names out of Formula One. And the fact that they're coming together is historic for the sport. So, I can't move past talking about the photos that dropped on Monday.
Yes. I was so happy, and they broke Instagram. So the top 3 most liked F1 Instagram posts are all 3 Ferrari. The first one is obviously Lewis Hamilton outside the Enzo house. Second is Charles Leclerc at Monza winning this season. And third is another one of Lewis Hamilton in his full Ferrari suit, which I opened Instagram. I think I was just like walking home. I opened Instagram and I was like, oh my goodness, it's Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari suit. Like, I knew I'd see Lewis Hamilton in Ferrari. Like, I knew he was going to Ferrari, but it wasn't like a reality.
It didn't register until you saw it.
Until I saw him in a red suit.
And throughout last year, we've seen sort of that photoshopped image on Sky Sports and things like that. It looked fine, but to see it in real life and to see him in red taking laps around the Fiorano circuit. So first of all, I'm not going to let us move past the first Enzo image itself, because the imagery and the sort of first of all, you have the image itself. It's taken on the Michael Schumacher Square in front of Enzo Ferrari's house. The photo had 7 windows and 1 door, implying like the number of championships. And it had the Ferrari flag on it.
Yeah.
The Ferrari F40, which happens to be Lewis's favorite supercar, and the last car commissioned by Enzo Ferrari at the company. Third, Lewis's wardrobe. Holy cow! Like, I know that. Yes.
So basically, even when he was knighted, this man did not wear a tie. He doesn't like ties. And okay, he was in front of our king, right? Our king, the man himself. Well, now it wasn't the king at the time, but okay, yeah, like we're not.
Do we really care about Charles? Is like.
We've got a Scottish and an Indian here. That's going to be
the monarchy doesn't hold much water.
But we might have some English listeners. You don't know that they might like Charles. We love Charles Leclerc though.
Yeah,
but
Charles
the point
Leclerc.
is, this man never wears a tie, and I was so impressed and like gobsmacked when I look into my Instagram. Like, he's just right in front of the camera, just like. It was one of the best photos I've ever seen. And
the layers in the suit as well. So it was a Ferragamo suit. It's an Italian luxury label that is designed by a black British man called Maximilian Davis. He also wore black Louboutin shoes with those red trademark red soles. So the levels of I was amazed by Lewis's fashion sense in Abu Dhabi last year itself, where he came in those white and it's transitioned to red.
He's always been fashionable. He is literally hosting the Met Gala this year. That is a fashion icon. Him and Yuki.
Of course. And Zhou Guanyu, but unfortunately Zhou Guanyu will not be there.
No, he's a reserve. He can still walk with the padlock.
Yes.
He can still walk the fashion show, and I believe he will.
And the return of the yellow helmet from the Ayrton Senna, Nico Rosberg days.
Yes. Okay. If you know me, you know about Brosades. Brosades is Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. So they both had yellow helmets during their karting days, and then they continued this. And so him having a yellow helmet is obviously it's to do with Senna, who is like his hero. He has the actual Senna helmet gifted by the family. He this season in Brazil drove the car before it was the day of the Grand Prix. It was supposed to be the day before,
Yes.
but I think because of the rain it was cancelled.
Because it was raining.
Yeah. So he loves Senna, but also the yellow thing is for Nico Rosberg. Like I just know it is, and he was like in the interview recently. Nico was like, they were asked him what team he'd go to if he was to return. He's like, maybe Mercedes or Ferrari, and I was like, yes. But yes, no, I don't know what helmet I was expecting. I should have expected the yellow helmet, but I think also it works perfectly with Ferrari colours. That unless you knew about Ayrton Senna and Nico Rosberg, you might have just like been like, Ferrari.
Like we've seen, and again, so Lewis sort of dropped the major purple vibes in 2022 itself. We had some form of yellow in turn, but it was fluorescent yellow. It wasn't. This thing screams yellow. Like this is a different beast.
Because sometimes it kind of looked a bit green.
Exactly.
It was like fluorescent. So like, I think it was. Is it like the Bahrain cameras? Did you watch the Bahrain one where sometimes the McLarens look like
No,
Ferrari
I think
cars?
that was Saudi. That was Saudi,
It
not
was
Bahrain. Saudi Arabia.
Maybe it was Saudi Arabia. I know it was one of the first two races. There was like this
The
one
McLaren
camera.
looked like a Ferrari.
Yeah, and I kept getting like confused because obviously.
It was into turn 1 and 2 at Saudi.
Yeah,
I think, if
and
I'm
it
not
was so
mistaken.
confusing because I was like,
That was
that's
in
a Ferrari.
2023. That was Oscar's
No,
first
no,
season.
It was
Last year?
No, it was last year.
Oh.
Yeah, no,
But it was at
probably,
Saudi.
It's probably been every year if they had the same cameras, but it was very confusing. But no, this is like a proper yellow. Like you see it and you know it's yellow. It's not like a highlighter marker yellow. So
Just
that was,
absolute poetry and brilliance on all levels.
it was beautiful. Every single part, and I loved the little tour video when he went around like the Ferrari house, and he was like a little bit nervous and he was meeting everyone. And I was like, he's so happy.
The
Like-
engineer seemed hyped, which tells you a lot.
Yeah, okay, imagine being an engineer, right? One, you're already at Ferrari, so you're already living the dream. But now you get to work on a car and work with a 7-time world champion. Like, that's going to be your dream as a motorsports engineer.
Absolutely.
Is to work with, maybe not to work with someone like Max Verstappen, because I imagine it's like, great, he's going to crash my car again.
Come on. Max has not had a crash since Austria. Has he had a crash since Austria?
I don't think so, but he could
there you
have.
go.
He could have many times. And I can imagine the years.
I do anticipate a few crashes this year though.
Yes, I can't imagine wanting to be a mechanic when in 2016 with him. The crash for Verstappen was
Crash Stappen.
I will never forgive him for Daniel Ricciardo not winning the Monaco Grand Prix that year. That's
He
his
did win
fault.
next year.
Yeah, but he still didn't win that year and he should have won, so. But that's fine. The Monaco Grand Prix will be won by a Ferrari member. Which
It
one
was
is,
won by
I
a
don't
Ferrari
know.
driver last year.
Yeah, but it will be this year as well. Which
It'll
one?
probably
You'll have
be
to
the
stay
same
to
one.
find out. I wish. I'll be happy with any. But then we also have to deal with the fact that now I can't be like, I'm like impressed by Mercedes when it comes to pit stops. So
I know,
now
they've slowed
I
it
have
down.
to be a Ferrari person. Like I am a Ferrari girl, and I've had like a year to adjust.
Oh, I
to the
can't
Ferrari
wait for
car.
when they slap on inches in like bone dry weather.
Don't say that to me. Lewis Hamilton will say no. Because in Silverstone, Toronto Wolf was trying to do that and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. Because he's the 7 world champion, he can demand what he wants, in my opinion. Anyway, carry on.
But yes, I am excited about Lewis's Ferrari. The end of Adami, his new race, and I miss Bono so much. But Adami does bring a lot of legacy. He used to be the race engineer for Seb Vettel, so
very exciting.
Very exciting.
Yes, no, because it came out as news like last year that Lewis Hamilton called Sebastian Vettel asking for who should be his engineer.
He did.
And which is when we learned that obviously Bono would not be his engineer, and
Broke my heart.
It broke my heart. It also was like quite an insight into Bono himself, because as soon as Lewis leaves, he's now like the head of his division. So he's obviously clearly been offered that for years, but he was never going to leave Lewis. So it's him at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in Lewis Hamilton's outfit in the denim. Did you see that? He was like in the denim jacket. Okay, like imagine a man. How old is he? Like in his 50s?
I'm guessing
a
40s or 50s.
a very British man, you know.
And this used to be.
See him at the Weatherspoons, like kind of vibes.
Yeah, and this is Michael Schumacher's racing. Like this is a serious bloke.
Oh yeah, no, he's a serious man. And then he's in not even just a normal denim jacket, right? Because it's like it doesn't have sleeves on the denim jacket, and it's bezazzled. Like it was iconic, and we love him for it. But it was definitely interesting to see. How do you think George Russell will be this year in his whose sponsor is Adidas, right? No longer Tommy. I can never say the last name.
Tommy Hilfiger.
Hilfiger. There we go.
No longer no luxury team kit this time. It's a sporting apparel apparently. But so first of all, George Russell got a haircut which pissed me off for no reason, clearly.
I'm really sorry for that.
Down. Can you say down?
No, we're moving on. I'm really sorry for that. We're going to move on swiftly to what do you think about Liam Lawson?
So, Yuki, I'm a Yuki fan. Yuki's a brilliant racer, and I do believe he deserved a fair shot at Red Bull, at the Red Bull seat. I don't believe he got a fair shake of it. Liam is a good racer. It doesn't help that he managed to beef with every driver on the grid for no reason, clearly.
Oh, you mean like even with just Checo, which I feel like adds insult to industry. Like he probably knew, right? He probably knew that he was in talks to replace this man, and he was like, you know what? At your own home race in Mexico, I'm going to have a problem with you. Like
he flipped him a bird in his own Grand Prix. He beefed with Fernando Alonso at the US GP.
Yeah, but also I feel like if I met Fernando Alonso, I also would get an argument with him. I just don't know. He feels like very argumentative quite easily.
True, but there's levels to it. You can't start beef on your F1 debut. Start beefing with Fernando Alonso.
I'm sorry, can I even know Max Verstappen? He can.
You need to be at that level. Like if I enter the grid, I'll beef with Lance Stroll before I beef with Fernando Alonso.
I would not pick a fight with Lance Stroll. That man has money, and I don't. So this is a pro Lance Stroll podcast. We believe in Lance Stroll. We further believe in his father.
And we believe Formula 1 cars do belong in gravel pits.
Yes, we believe the height of excellence in Formula 1 is the ability to hit a wall so spectacular so many times, even when you don't think it's possible, right? Like hitting a wall in Baku or Brazil, that's too easy. That's like everyone's expecting you to hit a wall, right, and crash out. What's really impressive? When there's no reason to hit a wall. That's my man.
I mean, there's levels to this. DNFing in the formation lap is where true skill lies. Like anyone can DNF in a race.
Exactly. When you can get a do not start, that like a DNS instead of a DNF, that's when you know you're a true winner.
And that's not because of a technical error, because of a driver error.
Yeah, exactly. That's never happened. It's always been a technical error with Lance Stroll. I don't know what you're on about. That man can drive. Oh, my favourite thing is it was Oscar Piastri was like he's like karting or something.
Yes. I love Oscar so much.
We love Oscar Piastri. We are a bit different though because you are a McLaren fan. I'm not a McLaren fan. I am a Lewis Hamilton fan and a Oscar Piastri fan.
So I'm not a McLaren fan as a team. I don't support teams. I support racers. I support good racers, which is why I'm not a Lance Stroll fan. But I do love Oscar and I do love Lando, and I know you don't love Lando.
There we go. He said I support good drivers, and then he says Lando Norris. How interesting. He actually does. Obviously you're not here in this studio, but he does have Lando Norris t-shirt on, jumper, which the logo itself has caused some controversy over the similarities between Liam Lawson's new logo as well as Lance Stroll's old logo.
I mean, it's weird to say, like, controversy of similarities when Lando has had his logo for about 7-8 years now, and
Yeah, but-
Liam got it 3 months ago.
Yeah, but Lance got it before Lando.
Lance?
Lance Stroll got it before
Yeah, but
Lando.
Lance doesn't count. That
does he
guy's
not
barely
count?
there.
He drives for a top 5 team. Aston Martin will always be a top 5
Is that
team.
a top 5?
It is a top 5. I would say it's top 5.
They
I
were
think-
5th last year. Didn't Alpine beat them?
I think Alpine might have won, but that's just because they had Pierre Gasly. That's a top driver. Pierre Gasly, future world champion.
I mean, not champion, but yes, Pierre Gasly is a top driver, and he deserves a seat at the top team. He deserves. I would have bet so much money that either Carlos or Pierre would have ended up back at Red Bull, replacing Checo instead of Liam.
No, I never want Pierre Gasly back in Red Bull. No.
What about Carlos Sainz?
I don't really like. I'm indifferent to Sainz. Like I don't hate Carlos Sainz.
Okay.
I don't like
Who do
him.
you think is a better racer, Carlos or Pierre?
Pierre
Get off it, man.
Pierre Gasly.
Come on,
Pierre
you
Ga-
can't be serious.
Pierre Gasly would dominate Carlos
No, he
Sainz in a
wouldn't.
Ferrari.
He's not touching Carlos in the same car.
Yes, he
Are you
is.
joking?
Yes, he is.
We'll see next when Carlos Sainz destroys Alex Albon in that Williams.
I didn't say he's not better than Alex Albon. I love Alex Albon.
This man wasn't within touching distance of Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari.
Ooh,
This man can go toe-to-toe with anyone.
He was not toe-to-toe with Charles Leclerc. That's what
Really?
he's saying.
Remind me, which Ferrari driver won a race in 2023? The one Ferrari driver who won a race in 2023?
So, that means nothing to me. 2023 was all Max Verstappen. Every single race he won.
I mean, 2 races were won by Checo Perez, 1 race was won by Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, but still. Like, I remember this whole discussion because everyone was talking about, oh, Carlos Sainz he still doesn't have the statistics that Charles Leclerc does. Or,
That's because he
Even
hasn't had a
worse-
seat in the top team as much as Charles Leclerc has.
even worse when they're comparing him to Lewis Hamilton. And I thought, back down right now. That's ridiculous. I get it, he won 1 race in 2023. Well done. So proud.
It's about maximizing opportunities, and we've seen Carlos, not like this in comparison with Pierre Gasly. Time and time again, when the chances come to win a race or lead a race, Carlos Sainz has taken it.
But Pierre Gasly does it against all the odds. Carlos Sainz has the odds in him, right?
Really.
Pierre has none.
For once, Alpine had a chance to win a race in Brazil. Both Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly bottled it, and Esteban won out over Pierre. Esteban came second, Pierre came third.
They still had that was an amazing race.
That was a fantastic
These are-
race. That was a
That
Max
was an
Verstappen
incredible-
masterclass.
no, for them too. It was incredible.
Yes, Alpine brilliance, yes.
And it
Esteban beat Pierre.
healed the entirety of France watching that.
That did heal
Everyone,
France.
everyone,
The revolution
Yes.
ended in France, clearly. After
everyone
that.
was so happy. I was happy. I actually cried watching them hug, and they looked like a very happy.
Yes, it was
marriage.
very emotional to see them
Yeah.
sort of heal.
I think
that.
I cried a lot this season. Did you cry this season?
No, I'm not much of a crier. I cry at very juvenile things. I don't cry at like actual emotional stuff.
I don't think I've ever cried so much as I did at Silverstone. I remember watching it and I just started crying and howling and crying again, and I just every time this man was on my screen, Lewis Hamilton, I started crying again.
That radio was emotional when Bono said "You're the man," and you know
No, that was George.
that was Bono.
No, I swear George said it too.
I mean, George might have said it later, but Bono's video was "You're the man."
We love George Russell actually.
I don't love George Russell.
Okay, talking about.
Okay, Carlos Sainz or George
No,
Russell?
no. I don't.
Just one word: Carlos Sainz or George Russell.
You know what? Pure instinct says George Russell.
Ridiculous, but go on.
My point is, what did you think? Because the George Russell and Max Verstappen thing got squashed. As soon as this man goes, he pulled a piece of malarkey and went, "I'm gonna have a baby," and everyone's like, "Okay,
Hands off, Max.
Hands
He's
off.
a dad.
yeah." We're all like, "He's fine."
He's fine. He can be a
what about-
terrorist. It's fine. We'll heal George.
No, like I was excited. It was fun to see George Russell. Like this is a man that I've seen like pictures of him drinking tea, like go like scrappy with Max Verstappen. I was like, yeah, I'm ready for it. Let's take it on the track right now. And then he has a baby.
George can't go toe to toe with Max. Come on, fam.
He has many times. He's lost, but he has the ambition. He has the ego to go to, and that's what I like about George Russell.
The truly transferable skills to victory, ego, and what else did you say?
Ambition.
Oh yes, the.
I'm sorry. Did you not meet Lewis Hamilton? That is a man with ego and ambition.
You need hard work and talent behind ambition to achieve your goals.
George Russell has talent, and he's had his dedication. He drove for Williams, which I did like.
He drove brilliantly for Williams.
I did an article and I compared the fact that Kimi goes straight to Mercedes, and I thought, if I was George, right, I imagine being George getting a call being like, okay, so it's Alex, right? My mate Alex is coming to Williams, like Mercedes with him, and he's so happy, and then Tonto goes, oh no, Kimi from F2. I go, what?
The funny thing is, Kimi skipped F3 to get into F2, did one season of F2, and he's in F1 in the top team.
I'd be like, what about Alex? Where's Alex? Like, I knew it wasn't going to be Logan, obviously, but what about Alex? What about Pierre? Like, come on.
What about Carlos? Get Carlos from Ferrari.
What? I don't think George Russell would have wanted. I think he wanted Alex Albon.
Why wouldn't George want Carlos?
Because he's more friends with Alex.
No, because he's terrified of Carlos.
No one's terrified of Carlos. Ridiculous statement. Nah.
Carlos could have beaten George in that Mercedes. In any Mercedes.
It's gonna be like really weird because like I have a place in my heart for George Russell, but not enough to ever call him my favorite driver. So like I'm not gonna like pay a massive attention to him this season. But like if I see him, I'll be like George. I'm not gonna like actually be like what's his stats this season. I'm not gonna pay that much.
But I will admit, as much as I like to rag on George for being this proper British lad, that open letter from the GPDA was immaculate.
I'm waiting for the next one, because the FIA have banned political statements once again. But now the penalties also include on their third time, and it's within 2 years that then they get championship points taken away from them, and they get banned from the race for 1 month. I don't really see Lewis Hamilton being like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll stop talking about all the issues that affect me and affect everyone I care about. I don't think I want to compare Lewis Hamilton to Max Verstappen in his swearing, because I don't think Lewis Hamilton fighting for human rights is exactly the same thing. Like, I'm not going to put them, but also it's Max Verstappen should just like
get to swear if he wants.
Yeah, that's my point. Okay, right, they have a children's version of Formula 1 that is like 2 seconds behind, and they change all the words they say anyway.
I'll say yes. MBS can watch that.
So like they have a kids Formula 1 that have all the same drivers, and it's in a cartoon version. So I'm actually not entirely sure.
And it's actually quite fun. I've seen F1 Kids podcast.
It's kind of cool. It kind of good. So I don't know why that's a problem. However, I'm very upset about the political statements thing.
I keep getting, it's not just the swearing, I keep getting drawn back to this by a point made on one of my favorite F1 podcasts. I'm not going to name it because I don't think we can name people. Can we name people?
You can name a podcast.
Okay, P1 podcast with Matt and Tommy, big fan. They said F1 is a much different sport compared to other mainstream sports like the NBA or the NFL or stuff like that, because the players aren't mic'd up. Like, if I watch a season, as I'm a massive cricket fan, I'm Indian, it's a religion back home. So if I watch a cricket match, if Virat Kohli is mic'd up throughout the match, it's curtains for anyone, because he's cussing up a storm in Hindi every second of the match if possible.
Yeah, I can't imagine Jude Bellingham when he scores doesn't swear. Like, he got a friend to like be taken off because he did a rude gesture. I can imagine underneath every single footballer is a lot of swearing. They're just not. Also, these guys are going 200 miles per hour. They blink, and that's like a whole
20 meters
of darkness. That's terrifying. They're high on adrenaline all the time, right? It's terrifying. They're gonna let things slip. Like, it's gonna be like, okay, fine, Max Verstappen. I don't think that's an accident. My favorite.
I think it's a person. Yuki and Max are my favorite personalities on radio because they don't care about anything or anyone.
I think when Charles Leclerc, I think he word. That was like a genuine accident. Max, I think that's on purpose.
It's his pastime.
That is just his
It's his
personality.
hobby.
Yeah. My favorite thing was, did he say it was like English isn't my first language? Just like
That was my favorite thing ever. Like, honestly, not going to lie, if I got in trouble for swearing, I would do the same thing.
It's not my first language. I think, yeah, I was like, fair enough. Either way, I guess there's levels. Obviously, political statements is up here.
It sort of reminded me of the trouble like Seb and Lewis got into in like 2020 when they were sort of taking a knee for Black Lives Matter movement.
Yes, and then, yeah.
And they start going after Seb for like his underwear and Lewis for his jewelry and things like that. And
yeah, because it's on purpose to get them for like the silly stuff.
to get them to shut up, exactly. And
Which is, I have an essay on this. I just wrote it. I'm quite proud of it. But one of my favourite things was when he was on Sky Sports and Pierre defended him, because that's my driver, Pierre Gasly himself. But
every driver defended Lewis for the right.
yeah, because the jewelry thing is like, but the swearing is what's included in the FIA trying to control the drivers to a certain extent to the image that they want. Obviously, the political statements is really bad for the FIA, and like, I think anyone can understand why. Swearing, obviously, it's like, I think swearing is more agreeable to understand why they can't swear. Political statements, depending on, I guess, where you're from in the world. I'm not talking to any particular country at all. Maybe
We love Donald Trump in this podcast.
No, we don't. I'm European. That says enough.
Yes. We think Elon Musk is wonderful as well.
I think he's a global threat to democracy. Actually, I also think maybe the FIA might be too.
I mean,
maybe not the same level,
yeah.
but the same economy is a problem. What do you think of the FIA? I think I'm never going to get accredited as a reporter for the FIA because I actually didn't plan to go into F1 journalism. But it was the time when they banned political statements back in like 2022, I want to say, maybe it was 2023, and I was like, you know what, I'm so mad. As a Lewis Hamilton fan, I was like, I'm going to write it. And then I wrote another one when him and Charles Leclerc ironically got disqualified together. And
in
then
the
it was,
USGP.
yeah, and then they
Painfully.
became teammates. They were the first 3 Oscars I did, and they're like spread over by months. So the reason I got into Formula One journalism is the whole FIA. So I've known from the beginning the FIA are never gonna like me, and I think that's a better thing.
I think so here's the thing, let's break the new rules regulations down. So there are a few things that I understand why the FIA did it. Like I don't agree with any of it first of all, but I can logically understand some of it, and the other things are just punitively done to sort of placate the Mohammed bin Sulayem's ego and his fragile masculinity clearly. Because one, I understand the thing about political statements. This is a federation that races in the Middle East and China, and if they see their drivers making statements and putting up symbols that the government of these countries finds disagreeable, then it's a monetary loss for the federation. I logically understand that. I disagree with it. I feel if Lewis Hamilton wants to wear a pride helmet in Saudi Arabia, he should get to wear a pride helmet in Saudi Arabia, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because they still accommodate to these races. Like, they have no alcohol in the champagne. They still invited Donald Trump to the US Grand Prix, even when Checo runs away from him.
Yeah.
Which, that really upset me, because I think if you're gonna invite someone, you should at least protect your drivers. And I would be like, okay,
McLaren hosted Donald Trump, which I was not happy with.
I'm not happy with it, and I think they should have like protected the drivers. There's also a different issue is like the whole George Russell thing. Really, like when he was in the middle of the track and everyone was like, he's being like a baby, and the FIA should.
He's in the middle of the track.
He's in the middle.
Red flag this session.
Like he's concerned.
Yesterday.
And obviously I can say how brilliant the Brazil Grand Prix was, but Ollie Behrman is an F2 driver. He should not have been out there, and he was on the radio saying, I can't repeat what he said for this radio, but like he was generally concerned.
On any radio, frankly. I don't think we can say that.
No, I can't say what Ollie Behrman said. He is, what, 18, 19?
18.
But he's still an F2
No, he's
driver.
He's older than Kimi, I think 19 or 20.
Yeah, this was his third ever F1 race, and he's in a Haas car anyway. Like, this was a terrifying race for half the grid. It was terrifying for Lando Norris, who has been there for 6 seasons. It's not fair. I'm not saying they should have pulled the entire race, But I think they should have let him just go, you know what, we're going to pull you from the race. Because I don't think it's fair to let someone that doesn't have any experience go out.
Also, I don't think it's fair to
self-train.
let someone race who doesn't want to race in the story. Like, I remember when they allowed, when Williams let Logan Sargent pull in during the Qatar Grand Prix in 2023. Which fair, like Logan is not the best driver, but he still felt insanely sick inside the car. It was far too hot.
No, because like all the drivers have complained about the heat. And that's why Middle East races are at night, because of the heat. But there are still different races that are super hot. You have to care, you saw them after the races. George Russell has never looked more dehydrated in his life.
Oscar Piastri laid down in the podium, sort of the cool down room.
The FIA should be focused on these issues rather than like whatever Lewis Hamilton is doing, because I think they should know by now Lewis Hamilton is going to do whatever Lewis Hamilton wants. He is bigger than F1. He's going to say what he wants to say. And it's also not like he's politically wrong either. It's not like Elon Musk, okay? It's not like a big thing. He's just defending basic human rights, which is kind of my problem with it. He's like, yeah, we should have more diversity in F1. I'm like, yeah, it's like less than 1% of black people are in F1. There should be more people. I don't think that's like a hard statement to disagree with. Or he's like, yeah, we need to help women be in motorsport. I'm like, yes.
See,
agreed.
but I sort of logically see why the FIA wants to ban these. There is this one particular clause that angers me so much. I'm trying to censor myself badly here, because the clause pretty much states that the drivers can't have any statement or any messaging that quote unquote causes any moral injury to the FIA or its members. What the heck does moral injury even mean?
It means like because Lewis Hamilton did a thing, he said about the environmentally friendly part of F1 needs to be better, which obviously they tried to do for the 24th season, which is why
Seb
it's
has
a bit...
been banging on that drum for decades.
Yeah, like it was a bit weird this season because the race calendar was in order of what would be like more environmentally friendly, more than like what makes sense during the time of the year, which is how it used to be, which is good, it's improvement. But his criticism was that he doesn't think races should be held in corrupt or like unsafe countries, which with human rights, whichever way I say it doesn't sound great. Obviously, I do count the US in that, so I want people to know that. I don't like the US, so the US has free races. I think
let's be fair, no country is spotless, but at the same time, there are levels to this.
There are levels to which countries are worse. And I think Lewis has the right to say what he wants on that. But obviously that would be moral injury to the FIA, especially considering who the president of the FIA is. He doesn't take things very lightly at all. I don't really know if he likes any drivers. And lots of people are like, let's get rid of the FIA president. And I'm like, yeah, but they've all been bad. Like in the last 10 years, I don't know an FIA president that wasn't
I still remember when Mohammed bin Salman was first brought on, he was sort of brought on to steady the ship, to sort of improve relations between the F1 and the FIA, and I don't think it's worked out well.
I don't think it's worked out at all. Obviously, we have to remember like the Formula 1 is not just Formula 1, it's owned by an American company, which is Liberty Media, which is why we have so many races now in the US, because obviously Liberty Media want more money in the US, and that makes sense. And also the money's going to go where the new economy is, which as much as obviously Lewis Hamilton wants more races in Africa and we want more races in Europe.
Let's start with one. Let's have one race in each continent and then we improve from that point.
Yeah, and we don't have in each race in each country.
Africa doesn't have a race.
It has a racetrack. It just we don't use it anymore because we stopped when they had political upset. I can't remember what year we stopped.
The layout is wonderful, truth be told. It's a fantastic track. And
also, the FIA does not help, and I feel bad for George Russell when he became director of the Grand Prix. I don't think he expected to have to deal with this much politics. He doesn't seem like a guy who was ready.
Oh, come on. Look at George. He enjoys politics. He thrives in the fact that he was in Toto Wolff's house when went to tell him about his Ferrari move tells me everything I
He
need to
looks
know
like
about
he
George
should be
Russell.
like an auditor at the UN, is how I imagine it. Like in another life, where
Like a rapporteur, like he's,
Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
sort of the one tabulating all the results
like
and
in
votes
the
and
life
things like
where
that.
he didn't get lots of money when he was born, he's typing in the UN. Like I think that's what I mean. I think he's political enough that he'd want to be there, but he doesn't want to talk out as much as he wants to. And he's been like,
Yeah,
he
doesn't seem like someone he doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. I'd
Yeah,
say that.
no, that's what I mean. That's why he'd be better
Yeah.
in the auditing position rather than speaking.
I mean, I feel that's what makes him such a great politician,
Yes.
is that he can sort of exert his influence in other places. Like, genuinely, as much as, Max is someone who is no BS. Like, what you're seeing is what you're getting. And when he said that George Russell turned a new, was completely different in the stewards meeting, I believe Max. I think George said some things that he would not have said in front of the press in the stewards meetings.
But also, that's also like a difference between media trained and media not
Exactly,
trained.
which
And
I get.
think-
Like, as a racer, you want to hamstring the guy next to you as much as possible. I completely understand George's instinct, and I completely understand Max's position. I just respect Max a lot more because he's someone who's willing to put his opinion out into the world without any regard of how it will be perceived and stuff like that.
Yeah, but also I do think that comes down to more the also fans of Mercedes and
That's
Red
right.
Bull. Like
That is fine.
Max Verstappen is a full world champion. He can kind of like Lewis.
He can
right?
get away with anything.
Yeah, it's like Lewis and Mercedes, right? He can get away with it. George Russell was outperforming Lewis at a point,
Reprimanded
but
and disciplined and stuff like
yeah,
that.
like he's not. He's there as a member of Mercedes. Like Mercedes will get rid of him.
Like, Mercedes is bigger than George, but Lewis and Max are bigger than their teams.
Exactly,
And so on and so
which
forth.
is also why Mercedes and Red Bull are willing to pay the fines. Which is also probably also why Yuki did not get to Red Bull, is because one, there's obviously the Honda situation,
Yes.
which because he's the only Japanese driver, Honda obviously wants to keep with him.
Yes.
But Red Bull doesn't want to be with Honda anymore.
Because next year onwards, Red Bull will be powered by a Ford power unit, and Honda will be powering Aston Martin, who have two locked-in drivers,
Which is why,
one of
unfortunately,
whom's father owns the team.
yes, welcome to nepotism in Formula One, which is actually very popular. But the problem is that's kind of why I think that's like the main reason Yuki did not get in. Some people have said it's because of how he swears on the radio, which could be.
It doesn't help. I'm sure
It doesn't help. It's like
But if he was getting results, Red Bull could have looked past.
Yeah, I think they could have looked past it because they're already paying enough fines for Max Verstappen anyway, and they make enough money.
I think at this point, Red Bull's budget accommodates for the fines they'd have to pay for Max's misconduct
However, they've
issues.
now lost so many brands since they let go of Checo
Yes.
that I'm actually I was sitting there thinking maybe it wasn't worth.
See, but
what
Liam
they
does
bought.
bring in sponsors there. Liam does bring in
Yeah,
some sponsors.
he's Australian, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I what sponsors? I actually don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure either. I mean, to be fair, no one thought that they could replace Daniel Ricciardo as well, like the financial backing Danny Rick had, but clearly they managed to find it. So
I miss Daniel Ricciardo.
if Liam could realistically replace Daniel Ricciardo, surely he could replace Checo Perez.
Let's talk about Daniel Ricciardo, Singapore.
That finally brings us to the topic actually of driver switches and penalties and things like that.
So Daniel Ricciardo, that was such a hard race to watch, but in his final race at Visa, this is such a norm
It's
name.
VCAR.
Visa Cash App, Red Bull.
Racing Bulls, not Red Bulls.
I call them Red Bull all the time.
It's Racing Bulls. It's
I
honestly Racing Bulls.
I still call them Junior Red Bull. I call Mux too. I'm sure James.
I
hates
still
me
either
so
refer to them
much.
as Alpha Tauri or Toro Rosso.
No,
Deal with it.
still call Williams Mini.
They're Alpha Tauri to me.
No, they're Mini Mercedes. I won't back off. I know James doesn't want that, but James, that's just a fact. I'm sorry, Alex.
No, Williams is a different team, fam.
No, it's not.
No.
Anyway, my point, right? Daniel Ricciardo in his last race gives the fastest lap. He gets his fastest lap point, which he takes
And-
away from Lando Norris and gives basically a point to Max Verstappen because he's taken away. And then he just sits in the car, and it was such a heartbreaking moment. It felt the same way I felt when it was Lewis Hamilton at Abu Dhabi, and he just sat in the car, and I was thinking, like this, like when we think
This
about
isn't right. You felt this isn't.
yeah, like this is realistically, this is like a little boy whose entire dream was always to win in Formula One, and then maybe like in the tiny part of his mind, he's like, maybe there's a possibility that's in reach, that maybe I can get a world championship, and he came so close. Like he was like third. I can't remember what year,
Yes, third.
but it was against Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. Like it's not like third in some years when there's not high competition. Like it was.
And all like the Ferrari and Mercedes were far ahead of the Red Bull.
Yeah,
Williams.
which is why it's like impressive, and it's also like it's disheartening because he could have, obviously he's like past that driving, and it's upsetting, and also it's more upsetting that he wasn't given, and that was my problem this year, he wasn't given a farewell. It was kind of like, it could be
We
your
didn't
last
know
race.
it was his last race.
It's
Exactly.
not, it's like a rumor, it might be, it was, obviously it was,
It was
in the end.
shameful. It was shameful.
I thought maybe
Listen,
they'd let him have one more.
does Danny Rick deserve like a sort of? Did Danny Rick deserve to finish the season? In my opinion, yes. He's an 8-time Grand Prix winner. He's delivered genuinely. Of course, people look back on his McLaren days as a failure. He was the only McLaren driver to win a race for like in the past however many years or something. He won in Monza in 2021. No one expected him to win. He just rocked up, qualified immensely well, overtook Max at the start, led the race pretty much every lap, nailed everything he had to nail. True, Lando was asked to back off in the end, but nevertheless, Danny Rick delivered when it mattered. He won McLaren's only race in it's like 5 or 6 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the last McLaren race winner was either Lewis or Jensen, because Alonso and Massa hadn't won it or something like that.
No.
So yeah, so that's the caliber of driver he was, and I'm not saying that he was still that good of a racer, but he deserved to end the season. He deserved to go out with the team, and he deserved to do donuts in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, he deserves a farewell, like at least. I also think Logan deserves a farewell. I don't think he should have finished the season. No, but I think it's rude to the drivers to not let them 100% know it's going to be their last race.
Right.
Like I still think they should have done like a lot. Like Daniel Ricciardo didn't get kicked. In context, that is what they do to Red Bull drivers. I want that in writing. They did that for Sebastian Vettel, even though he didn't retire as Red Bull driver. They should have been able to do it to Daniel Ricciardo. It's like you should let drivers leave in a graceful way. It's still going to be painful, but it would have been less painful if they told him before Singapore, this is it. Like, and everyone knows it's it, so we're going to do a little thing afterwards. Like, that's like some grace.
Again, like
it's a tough
let's not
sport.
compare Logan Sargent and Daniel Ricciardo.
I'm not comparing them. I'm saying that they both deserved a farewell. Like, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Ricciardo should have finished the season, especially because it was like kind of so late in the season that it's also kind of unfair.
Exactly,
for
you're
Liam.
Singapore. Like you have like what 5-6 races remaining. Come on.
Like, I don't know if it's like a big enough
We
deal.
have US, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Abu Dhabi. 5 Qatar. 6 races remaining.
Yeah.
That's literally 3/4 of the season, 75% of the season done.
Also, he always does like a big deal in Austin with like the cowboy
He's
hats
a
all the
massive
time.
deal in Austin.
So that makes no sense to me. Like, you could have just given him one more race. I don't understand.
Honestly,
but I'm not
like,
a team principal.
you realize when they announced the race in Vegas, Daniel Ricciardo legitimately said, I was going, like, he might have been joking, but he said, I was going to retire, now I won't. And y'all didn't let this man race in Vegas. Like, that's something I'll have to live with.
It's like upsetting, but it is what it is. So, what do you think of the new F2 drivers? Oh, actually, what do you think of the Alpine situation?
Shameful. So again, I'm not
For context,
Ocon's biggest fan. He deserved to finish the season.
Yes, for context, no, I'm talking about this season. Obviously, it was a bit abrupt that they let Jack Donahue race for the Abu Dhabi season, which and then he didn't do very well. It's kind of setting him up for
no one
failure.
expected him to do well.
Like,
I was fine with
I
it.
didn't expect him to do well. Like, it is what it is. And Pierre
He didn't
finished top
crash.
10.
He didn't crash. He
In the
did
end,
well.
second.
I'm giving Duan a free pass on that one. It did bother me that this again, Ocon coming back to Alpine. He's the only race winner at Alpine. He's had multiple podiums in that absolute trash can of a car. That car is a wheelbarrow in the best of times. and Ocon managed to get one race win and two or three podiums in his time at Alpine, and they did not give him a proper send off. I blame Flavio Briatore for this.
Yes. For the 2025 season, obviously they have, is it 3 reserve drivers? They have, so obviously they have, who is in it? It's
Only one matters.
which is
Franco Colapinto.
Yes, and they've signed him for 5 years, and that tells me everything I need to know. They obviously have, I feel like it's an F3 driver actually. Or is it F2 driver? They have a reserve.
F2, I think.
Yeah, and then they have another one who I haven't heard of.
I think that's a Alpine Academy driver, so they're sort of contractually obligated to sign him or something. But the rookie to watch out for is ironically the one not on the grid, who is Franco Colapinto.
Yes. Do you think he's going to get replaced in 6 races? I think so.
Not in 6 races, but I do expect Doohan to be replaced mid-season by Franco Colapinto.
I think it's going to be earlier. I think also Franco is going to be used a lot for media because he's very popular with the media.
And he brings in a lot of sponsors from South America.
Which is why they should have just had Checo as a reserve driver for Red Bull. So many problems might have been solved if they did that. But hey, I'm not in the market.
Would Checo agree to be a reserve is the question.
I think
especially to Liam.
Yeah, but his father was like, oh, he'll go to Formula Electric. I was like, that's how bad he wants to be a driver. Yeah, he'll be a reserve driver.
I do like Valtteri's back in Mercedes though.
That's also a media thing, but I'm also happy he's there.
Yes.
Why he's there just purely for social media, which is the same reason Mike was there. Mike Schumacher.
Mick.
I say Mike.
Mick.
Yeah, but see, if I say Mick, then I'm like ready to say Michael Schumacher, which is why I say
it's
Mick.
Mick.
I know, but then
when
my
you say
mouth wants to
does
finish.
Mike sound similar to Michael Schumacher or does Mick sound similar to Michael
Mick sounds it's more similar to me, which is what confuses me more. I'm also dyslexic, and I want to quote Max Verstappen. English is not my first language.
Again, the Scottish girl telling the Indian that English isn't her first language.
Yeah, Scottish mate.
So what is your first language? Pray tell. Do you speak any other languages?
I speak 3 languages. You already know that.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I thought our friendship went more to me. It doesn't. That's okay. Because I was ready to end the friendship when he said he liked Lando Norris. So I guess this is just like official. It's kind of awkward actually to do this to you.
Yes. So yes. Okay. So Ocon and Doohan.
Yeah. It's just what?
No, the driver replacements. That's
I was about to say no. Ocon's not in. Ocon's with.
No. In 2024, in 2025,
right,
we do
I was
in
like,
Colapinto.
no, he's with. I can't wait for Ollie Behrman. I'm such an Ollie Behrman fan.
He's an exciting
He's
prospect.
won me over. It's not difficult, but he has won me over. Because I do see him at Ferrari once Lewis retires. That's my hope. I'm locking it in.
Ollie Behrman to Ferrari when Lewis retires.
Because Lewis is there for 2 years.
It depends on when he retires. So if Lewis retires before if Lewis wins the championship in 26, I expect him to retire after that. So in 27, assume if Lewis retires with the championship, I would expect Carlos Sainz to come back.
No,
Yes.
Ollie Behrman.
Ollie Behrman would be 23, 24 years old. How old would he be?
Yeah, I reckon they'll still do it.
Yeah, so there's still time. No, there's time for him to grow, right? Like that's what Ferrari.
But we
will be
also
thinking.
don't know
Carlos is a
how
guaranteed race winner.
Yeah, but you want
Especially if as I assume they would continue to back Charles for the championship, they
that's
wouldn't
what I
want
mean.
Ollie
So
next to him.
Yeah, that's why they would want Ollie next to Charles.
I mean,
It's investing in the future. Like Charles is not going to drive. It looks like it. He's not going to drive forever. And
Charles would drive
I
until he
think
gets a championship in that
it's
Ferrari.
going to be Ollie Behrman, and if I can say with hope, one day it might be Arthur Leclerc.
Oh, okay. No, you know who I want.
That's my
You
level
know
of delusion.
who is the rookie I want in Ferrari at some point in their career?
Who? If
Kimi.
you say, I knew you were going to say Kimi. Why?
It's an
Because
Italian
he's
driver
Italian.
in the Italian team. If Kimi wins championship in a Ferrari,
I
Italy
can't
would
see
go
him in the Ferrari.
insane.
I see them maybe just like Mercedes. You know what? I reckon he might go to Aston Martin at one point when they get better.
No, not
Yeah,
Aston.
no, I'm saying he
Not
goes to
Aston.
Aston Martin when they get better and they get Newey.
My money for Kimi's transfers either on Ferrari or on McLaren. One of the legacy teams, not the new ones like Aston or Red Bull or something like that.
Anyway, we've come to the end. Thank you so much for coming on to Box Box. This has been Skye Williamson and
Ananyanarayan.
and I'll see you next week at 5. Anyway, we hope you enjoy the 2024 season and we're very much looking forward to 25, especially with Lewis Hamilton in Ferrari. And that's all. Good night. Thank you.